Hi, I'm going to take a minute here to talk to you about difficult conversations and how truly difficult they are and how important they can be in terms of resolving stuff. And I'm going to give them to you in the context of like performance discussions and also giving feedback to somebody who's bullying or harassing you. My name is Ken McCarthy. As many of you know, my purpose is to help leaders prevent bad things from happening in their organizations. Things like harassment, violence, wrongdoing, and fraud. So a couple quick stories here. A number of years ago, I was working with the Canada Border Services Agency. So that's the equivalent in the US is United States Customs and Border Protection. And we were delivering training to our frontline supervisors. So these are uniformed people across the country who at one time in their careers were most likely enforcement officers like immigration officers or customs officers or food plant inspection officers. And sometimes they would actually have to deal with very difficult people, and sometimes they would actually have to arrest people, drug smugglers, people traffickers. And that sounds like it's a pretty difficult situation, and I did it myself. Yeah, you want to talk about being scared to death for a moment there as you're arresting somebody. And so I was talking to a group of frontline supervisors, as I mentioned, and as again, these people have that background experience, and I was talking to them about having difficult conversations with their subordinates, with their employees, about their employees' conduct or their employees' performance. And they were having a really, really difficult time, and we were delivering this message in the context of, for the purpose of helping them prevent things from getting out of control. So minor incivility or minor misconduct, helping them prevent it from turning into something that was really, really big. And in my conversations with these leaders, I found quite regularly that they considered it to be a far more difficult conversation to have, to give feedback to one of their employees on poor performance or whatnot, than they did in their interaction with, the bad guys. So when they had to arrest somebody for doing whatever, they had that brief interaction with that person. Chances are they had to do a strip search in some cases, and they may have seen that person in court 2 months later, 6 months later, a year later, who knows, right? But that was, a one-off, never have to have an ongoing relationship with that person again. Whereas when they talked about their own employees, and especially at some of the small offices, well, these supervisors had to have ongoing, continuous relationships with their employees moving forward. And it was very, very difficult. I was surprised, but it was very, very difficult for them to have that awkward conversation about, hey, Ken, you know what? What you said in the workplace yesterday was inappropriate, or what you did yesterday was really, really crossing the line. Because in a lot of cases, some of these supervisors, frontline managers could be friends with their employees, and they were struggling with these relationships and with these conversations. Not saying that they weren't capable of doing it, but it was far easier for them to deal with the bad guys. Second point I just wanted to make is I do workplace investigations. So again, harassment, violence, wrongdoing, and fraud. And when I'm looking at a lot of the investigations, especially when we're looking at harassment in the workplace or bullying, a lot of them point back to conversations, to opportunities where if someone were able to, have that awkward conversation, to give somebody that feedback right then and there that, whoa, you're crossing a line, it certainly, in many, many cases, would have avoided all sorts of problems down the road. Problems that I see with people going on sick leave, on medication, missing time from work, productivity issues, you name it, reputational issues as well. Those conversations are really, really difficult to have. And so there's lots of great resources out there if one were to look. And I just did a quick Google search on, difficult conversations and bullying, and found a couple of neat articles from Harvard Business Review. And one of them talked about when you want to have these conversations with people, you got to be direct, don't put it off, expect a positive outcome. One of the articles talked about becoming a B, which is kind of neat. It was a visible way of defending yourself from a bully. Don't let your emotions overpower your reaction, and build golden bridges for the person to effectively retreat. So those are great resources, and I encourage everyone read those. But what I found, you can read everything you want, everything out there. It's still really, really difficult to have that conversation. So one of the things I think people should do is I'm going to use the term get an ally. I know we use that term an awful lot, but if you can find someone in your environment, in your workplace, who you look up to as somebody who's not afraid to speak their mind and can be professional about it, if you can get a little bit of their courage, maybe their support in the conversation with you, that's going to go a long way. The alternative is the conversation doesn't take place. Things just get worse and worse and worse, and I see this all the time. And then you find yourself, as a leader, maybe accused of something that you could have addressed, or as an employee, finding yourself in a really, really bad situation that you can't get out of. So anyways, thought I'd share that with you. Difficult conversations really are difficult. And, a lot of people say, well, there's too many snowflakes out there. Well, it doesn't matter. We still have to have the conversations. So anyways, again, Ken McCarthy, my purpose is to help leaders prevent bad things from happening in their organizations, things like harassment, violence, wrongdoing, and fraud. Please join me in preventing these things from happening.